manufacturers under really difficult situations were making as much equipment as they could. And there's still a lot of good equipment out there, but it's just like some model years of vehicles and stuff like that. Not everything's up to the same quality or standard. You know, it was a hard time to manufacture. I'm not sure that some of the equipment that you bought or were created in 2020, 2021, and some of 2022 is really the same quality. And then on top of that, you layer on that all of that equipment has been used far more than usual. You know, so normally at an equipment rental store, the fleet age is around 3.5 years, which means your youngest equipment is new and your oldest equipment's around 7 years old. But a lot of this equipment had more utilization than it's ever had in a really short period of time. So at 5 years instead of 7 years, you've probably got just as much utilization on it. And so at 5 years, you've got a piece of equipment that may not hold up as well, that has more utilization than it normally does. And so now we're talking about probably late 24, 25, maybe into 26, you've got to get rid of that equipment. But a lot of people are probably going to have to get rid of that equipment at the same time. And even beyond that, you've got equipment that you had in 2019 that was getting closer to being ready to sell, and now you weren't going to sell it because you didn't know if you could get another one. And so you've got older equipment that needs to be sold right now. You've got newer equipment that needs to be sold sooner than average. That's all going to hit at roughly the same time. I think that you've got to pay a lot of attention to when you sell stuff, what you sell, what categories are doing well, what auctions are doing well. You want to try and get ahead of it a little bit or try and keep it until it's a little bit afterwards. But if you're not careful, you're going to get caught in that sweet spot right in the middle that's probably not really that sweet and sell stuff for less than you want. And I do think that there will be some models, like if you got a model brand new in 2019, it might be kind of like getting that last tier 4 or pre-tier 4 unit that you keep a couple extra years because you know that's going to be a good solid unit. So that 2019 model is pre the price increase, it's pre-COVID manufacturing. Yes, it's got more usage, but when you replace it, you're going to have to replace it with a lot more expensive model. So maybe keep some of that equipment a little bit longer than you'd really prefer to keep it. Selling used equipment is hard for most rental companies because it's such a small percentage of what you do. I had a lot of success selling stuff online. That way I wasn't selling stuff to my customers. But you know, you've got to try and find a way to get it out there at a decent price. The other thing that compounds that is higher interest rates. And that's causing a lot of people to not move. You know, what's the other most common time when you're doing small remodeling projects, redoing the kitchen, redoing a bathroom? It's when you buy a new house, right? And so you've got everybody who's done a ton of work to their house already that's not going to redo the exact same work that they just did in the last couple of years. And layer on top of that the fact that they're not likely to move or less likely to move than they were in the past because of the interest rates. And so they're not going to be doing that moving remodeling that often happens. And so I think that's really going to impact our part-time contractors. You know, there's firefighters who do the weekend jobs and some of the small contractors that are really a great bread and butter most of the time and really helped our member who targeted those markets way outperform and have record years in the last few years.
So how do you, if you are like many of our members who have DIY, small contractors, and that's where they live, what's your advice? What do they do?
You're going to do the opposite of what the national rental companies do when the economy gets bad. So if you notice when the economy gets bad in like 2008, 2009, what's the first thing that happens is the larger rental companies start to target smaller contractors because they need to get that fleet out on rent. We still have that kind of feeling of wanting to buy more and buy faster and get it because I think I might need it and what if I miss that rental? But realistically, you need to be paying attention to what you're actually missing rentals on, which categories are actually doing well on. You need to be trying to defleet in categories that aren't performing and increase fleet in categories that are performing. Last couple of years, you just bought it if you could get your hands on it. But now you need to really think, do I need that? Am I going to be rotating fleet? How is that contractor type doing? Should I maybe get more into landscapers because they're performing well right now? And what kind of equipment would they want or could I grow into in that segment? And you want to really kind of think about where your money is going in those different categories rather than just buying what you can get your hands on.
So what you're saying is people should do a deep dive with their own data before they come to the ARA show.
100%. You need to plan ahead. You know, the last few ARA shows, you went and you were like, who has fleet? How long is it going to be? How much more expensive is it going to be? But this time you need to be talking to customers in advance, saying, what does it look like for you? How does your business look? And from that information, you want to then be making your purchasing decisions.